Right, these nicknames. First of all, Lubo. That started with something slightly different. Started my test career, first number of test matches, we were up at Leeds, at Headingley, and I had a pretty good game, I suspect. I was enjoying myself in those days, had a pretty good night out or two as well, had a good time around the test match, and I found myself taking out this most gorgeous girl called Lulu. Good Yorkshire blonde, good heritage, Lulu Sutcliffe, cricketing family. And Bob Willis, who was in charge of nicknames in those days, decided that her long blonde hair, which was absolutely gorgeous to match the rest of her, and my long blonde hair, which was less gorgeous, created some sort of synergy. So he just assumed that I should be called Lulu. From then on, for the rest of that summer, they were referring to me in the England dressing room as Lulu. Now, the thing is, I was quite keen to get rid of that because, let's face it, if you're going to, say, Australia and coming up against the likes of, say, Dennis Lillee, Jeff Thompson, the great Australian fast bowlers of the time, and they think you're called, or hear you're called Lulu, that's not going to exactly inspire fear in their minds. So I think it was high time for a change. And in fact, when we got to Australia that next winter, my first Ashes tour, my first England tour, the first stop was Adelaide, where we found very quickly a restaurant called Lubo's Charcoal Grill, Eastern European. Cheap and cheerful, big steaks, garlic, the whole thing. Cheap red wine. It suited the budget at the time, which was minimal. And somehow I managed to persuade people to sort of change Lulu to Lubo, which was a subtle enough change for me to be happy enough that it was no longer quite what I feared. And that stuck for many, many years. So that's still going strong. Lots of my close friends call me that, and long may it last. Stoke's slightly different. At that time, one of my great favourites in terms of comedy, TV and the rest of it was Monty Python's Flying Circus. And if you remember that, great, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, look it up on YouTube. Very 70s, very 80s, to me, brilliantly funny. Lots of famous names like John Cleese, Michael Palin, Eric Idle, all those guys. And one of the things they did was they came up with all these very strange names for some of the gags, some of the sketches. One of the characters who pitched up one day was a fellow called Arthur Stoat Strangler. Bob Willis, again, the man in charge of nicknames in those days, I think he was sort of Mr. Arthur Strebe Greebling or something like that. Anyway, so I got the Stoat Strangler thing. That was shortened to Stoat. There's about one person left who still calls me Stoat. So that's just no go, okay? So don't call me Stoat, otherwise you'll be trampling on the footsteps of a close friend of mine. And the other ones, Snooters and Lord, well, imagine the Sky commentary box the last decade or so. Think who's in there. Ian Botham, Sir Ian Botham. Enough said. Global superstar. Michael Atherton, very brilliant man. Mancunian, so northwestern accent. Nasser Hussain, very hard. Again, very, very good, very hard working, very knowledgeable, but from Essex. And all these voices are different. David Lloyd from Lancashire. Michael Holding from the West Indies. And the various people that we would co-opt into that Sky box. Now, I, to most of those people, apparently sounded, dare I say, posh. Because I have this, this voice you can hear now. It's what we call received pronunciation. I mean, I went to good schools, yes. So whatever the way is I speak, that's the way it is. And from that, compared to some of the others, as I say, it sounded rather more posh. So the nickname evolved in the Sky box, Lord Gower. And I'm pretty happy with that. If it ever becomes real, I'll be even happier, to be honest, but I don't think that's going to happen. And in the meantime, Ian Botham, bless him, one of the comics he reads, there's a character called Lord Snooty, top hat, all that sort of stuff, cravats, bow ties, you name it, cane. So really taking it to an extreme, and from Snooty comes Snooters. So that, again, is the preserve solely of Sir Ian Botham. If you upset him, trust me, he gets very, very upset and angry. But anyway, so those are the nicknames. There are many, many more, I suspect, that are used elsewhere. Some of them complimentary, some of them not, but that at least tells you about some of those nicknames.